This is Fraud to Fearless.
Friends, you are made for more purpose, more confidence, more impact. Because when you live fearless, you inspire others to do the same.
Let's go! Hayden, today is my very favorite day of the whole year. It literally is. Do you know why?
No, but that's a great way to start an episode.
Because it's New Year's Eve, right?
It is. We're closing a year.
We're closing a year. By the time that you're listening to this, it's New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve is literally my favorite day, my favorite holiday, my favorite everything of the whole entire year because of goals and because of the reflection and the growth and everything else. But I think one of the hard things, Hayden, at the end of the year, there can be a sadness. Sometimes when we look back on the year, we think, what even happened? This year was hard. I barely made it through with cuts, scrapes, and bruises. And we'll see these highlight reels on social media of all the things that were accomplished and all these amazing trips and all of these things. And we can start to think, what did I even do? I literally did nothing. It was so lame. And our brain can tell us that, right? And so I think it's so important to go through and do a year in review for your life. Not only do you do this in business and there's yearly planning and all of these things, but going back and taking inventory of your life, the things that you learned, how you grew, the things that you're grateful for, it's a game changer. And it just helps you close out the year in such a beautiful way.
Yeah. Brooke, this might be a surprise to you, but there's a part of me that enjoys being anti-establishment. So thinking differently, challenging the monarchy, right? Not being told what to do. And New Year's Eve is kind of one of those things where I go against the norm, right? So New Year's Eve, the narrative of New Year's Eve is you celebrate with your loved ones and you look ahead and let's set goals. And, January is generally the busiest gyms are because it's a new year, it's a new opportunity. Let's reinvent ourselves. I view New Year's Eve kind of like Valentine's Day. Like for those of you that have a special someone, don't wait for Valentine's Day to buy flowers or a bear or chocolate. But some of these things, Brooke, even if there's a narrative or even if Hallmark created Valentine's Day to sell cards and flowers, isn't that a good excuse? Even if it is trying to brainwash us to buy cards for people to tell people that you love them, isn't that great? Isn't New Year's Eve, even if we just made that up, right, to, get people to go to the gym or to reinvent themselves in Q1 of every year, isn't that a great thing? And so, yeah, we essentially have gone through our year, Brooke and I, which, Brooke, we also have a big anniversary coming up as well around this time of year. Do you know the specific day?
Is it when we launched the pod, like our
Yeah.
first episode?
Quick pop quiz. Do you know? I just looked, to be honest, so don't pretend like I just have this memorized, but what day was our first episode ever released?
January 2nd?
You're close. January 5th, y'all. So Fraud to Fearless officially is almost a year old, which is really exciting. But Brooke and I, we sat down, we took inventory of our year. Again, imposter to empowered and work-life relationship. So that's the framework of what's been the highlight, the hardest part, big learnings that we've had, and then let's look ahead. And to Brooke's point, she's a big goals gal. So what are some goals that we have in 2026 in work-life relationships?
I love it. I think this will be a great episode because whether you're listening to this on the release date and it's December 31st and you're getting ready for whatever your family traditions you might have, or it's January and you've started, I think this is such a valuable thing to do. So if you have your Fraud to Fearless journal, pull it out, find a blank page, and start now as you're listening to us. You can kind of think through your things as we talk through and answer. And there's no right way to do this. I like to break up my review and think through each month. My brain can identify, especially if I haven't kept a journal or I haven't kept track of things really well, when I break it up into months, like, okay, what happened in January of last year, and go through like that. Or you can just think of the highlights. So, Hayden, we're just going to kind of go through. There's going to be work, life, and relationships, lessons learned. And I can't wait. I can't wait to hear yours. Let's keep it real.
Let's keep it real. Why don't you kick us off? You're chomping at the bit to go. Let's start with yours.
Okay, January. I love how you said that the pod was launched in January. January was a big month for me. It was a month of like a lot of fear, I think, because there was a ton of new things happening, but a lot of excitement. Like, okay, the pod was about to launch our first episode. I just got my first team of interns, 4 of them, and it hit me as I was like in the middle of everything for January. I have to create a system to onboard these people, to tell them like all the things that I have to do. Um, my siblings were like, Brooke, when are you going to start dating? They're trying to set me up on the dating apps and creating things. Oh my goodness, the stories I could tell you about what the things they're writing in these apps. I'm like, you guys. So there was just a lot of newness and excitement and, you know, fear for me in January.
Yeah, I can imagine. Similarly with me, I mean, I didn't have to deal with the dating app uh debacle and circus, and I'm really glad that I've never had to do that. So I imagine we'll continue to talk about that throughout the year. But I started a new job the first week of January with Honeywell. So literally the pod launched first week. I
That's
started a new
right.
job, and then Allie is 6 months pregnant, 5 months pregnant. And so we are preparing for Aubrey May to join us towards the end of Q1. So January is just a blur, right? This whole year, to be honest, Brooke, I
That's
can't
how it
believe it's
goes.
over. It's
I
it
know.
it feels like it's been 5 years, and it feels like it's been 5 months at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. So let's see, into February, this was a season of more growth and learning. I think still excitement within the business. I have a team that's starting to help me. I went to ClickFunnels. I a bucket list item. I got to hear Tony Robbins speak in person. Oh my goodness, the growth that happened there, the connections, that was incredible. That was incredible.
Yeah, I don't know how you document all of this. I know earlier, Brooke, you put a plug in for the Fearless Journal. Y'all, we've Brooke and I created a journal, and it's so exciting, and it's available on Amazon. We got more details coming later in the episode with a little ad about the Fearless Journal. But my wife and I also use this app, Brooke, called Time Tree. It's free. I love it. But we can both edit uh meeting invites and like calendar invites, and if we have a baby shower or a vacation or whatever. So I'm just looking at mine as we go through this. But January we also went on our baby moon. I don't know if you remember this, Brooke, but we got stuck. We were up in Virginia. It was snowy. My wife is 5, 6 months pregnant, so showing and a little less mobile than normal, right? And we got stuck at night. Our car slid down this hill up in the mountains in Virginia.
No.
It could have been a disaster, but we had such a great time on our baby moon. So that also happened in January. And then February, I had a couple work trips to Atlanta and spent some quality time with some of my business leaders that sat down in Atlanta. So that was really good. And then I've got a whole bunch of these, Brooke, just these like intern meetings, just like all over in this calendar. So that was another fun experience.
Yes, that was so great how they got to meet you and they're helping with a few things on the pod. I think March, April, and May for me was the excitement of the pod kind of died off. I mean, like we had been going through things, but not in the sense of like I wasn't pumped to do it, but the reality of what it took to run a podcast, plus my other business, plus
Yeah.
interns, plus homeschooling, plus like the day-to-day tasks of just keeping my house clean and everything else
Yeah.
started to hit. Like that sunk in. And I think there's patterns. Like if you look throughout your year, and that's what I like to see is what are the good things and then when and why did things shift? And that was a lot. Like you talk about motivation, understanding your why, goal theory, all of the things. It's when the going gets tough, the initial excitement of this is like what I want to do this year, and life hits and it can be like a sucker punch to the gut. It hurts.
Yeah.
It's hard. Late nights and just trying to, I kind of got into this survival mode of like, okay, I got to make this happen, but how?
Yeah.
Transitioned into that quick early on in the year for me.
Yeah, that's a good reflection point. I have a similar view where, so y'all, season 1 was 17 episodes. We started January 5th, and essentially, Brooke and I didn't have an operating system. It was like, all right, we're going to launch a weekly episode. We're both going to do everything. This is great. So one of my biggest learnings from work that we can kind of hodgepodge this into the discussion. But Brooke, are you familiar with RACI?
Yeah.
Years ago, while Brooke and I were in grad school at Utah State, we made a promise to each other. One day we said we'd build something that mattered, something honest, something courageous, something that reminded people that they are not broken, they're becoming. That promise became Fraud to Fearless, and now it's become the Fearless Journal. This journal is your space to be real, to write the thoughts you don't say out loud, to design the version of you that doesn't wait for permission anymore. If fear has been holding you back, if you're ready to believe there's more waiting for you, this journal is made for you. If it is for someone close to you, it really might just be the most meaningful gift you have ever given. Find the Fearless Journal on Amazon. Stop waiting. Start building. Back to the pod. So essentially, it's a acronym RASIC, RACI. But in these big companies, like Honeywell has 100,000 employees. I don't know how many USAA has, but I think it's like 40, 50,000, just massive. It's very difficult to outline in an organization who does what. So RACI is a framework that helps us think about, so it stands for who is responsible, who is accountable, who is support. The S is who supports. The I is who needs to be informed. And then the C, I believe, is consulted. Is there anyone that needs to be consulted? So essentially, the way I think about it is who's on first base, who's accountable, who's actually doing the work. If this fails, who do we go to, understand what happened? So the metaphor, Brooke, for those that maybe if you're an entrepreneur and you've never heard of RACI before, or if you're in corporate America and that's new lingo, the metaphor, Brooke, is like if you and I are cooking dinner together. If it's just me and you, it's very easy. I'll cook, you do the dishes. But now what happens if we have a team of 50? Now it's who's cutting the onion, who's cooking the onion, who's getting the pan out, who got the oil, who picked the groceries up, Who is doing the dishes? Who's loading the dishwasher? Do we have dishwasher detergent? Who's hitting the start button on the dishwasher? It starts to get very complicated. And then you add high performers and low performers. And there are some that are going to overachieve, and there are some that are like, hey, I really don't think I need to do anything for this meal. So I'm just going to sit back here and kind of let them all. So Racy is super important. Brooke, we didn't have a Racy for season 1 of this pod. We just both did everything. So, y'all, what that actually looks like is, again, keep in mind, I'm in Charlotte Eastern time, Brooke's in Mountain time. You just heard that Brooke has a business, a podcast, single parent, homeschools her kids. Like, she's starting to date. Like, you put all of that together, essentially, the midnight oils is when we had time to talk to each other. And it's like, oh my gosh, the reels aren't edited. The logo's not working. This software sucks. Like, all of these things. And so every night was a race to midnight. And then we would schedule. So, anyway, Racy is the takeaway there, y'all, that we had to regroup later in the year. But what I just described really is what contributed to Brooke feeling the way she did in closer to the middle of the year.
Okay. Whether it's in business or in life, I think there's moments when things start to break. Again, going back to the end of the year and feeling like, man, this was just a failure. Like all this stuff happened to me. We just barely made it through. I went through all of these trials. There's going to be that for everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to the human experience. And being able to see those things as such a gift and give ourselves a framework into this is how I can actually shift things. How can I take this and learn from it? Some things you can't control. To go along with your example, you pick up the groceries and they forgot the most important part of the meal. And so the thing that you're trying to do, accomplish, deliver, or the plans that you had for yourself in your life, man, that is so frustrating when that happens. If I
Yes.
just got the thing that I needed, then it wouldn't have been so hard. So I think the process to look through is what is in my control? Out of all of these things that happened, what's in my control? And the things that aren't in my control, what could I learn from that? How can I still make a gift out of that horrible thing that happened? And I think we can kind of dive into some of those things, like in the hardest part and the lessons learned at the end of the episode. But I love that framework. So I want to take that framework and kind of see if I can apply it into my life and not just from the business perspective.
Totally.
So I think going through the rest of the year, I hit this burnout point in end of April, May, where and I think this is good to talk about because people that listen to the podcast, that follow on social media, LinkedIn, whatever it is, might get this false perspective of how are they doing all of this stuff? Like it just seems that they're on fire and going, going, going. And
Sometimes
so
that's true.
sometimes, sometimes it's true. Sometimes it looks a little bit different. I definitely hit this burnout piece because I was like, man, I've never done this before. I've never had all these things I'm trying to do, and this is genuinely what I want. I want all of these pieces, and so I took a break. I'm like, I want to take a break from social media. We need to regroup on the pod. Let's pause for the summer. I want to go all in with my family and just spend time over the summer with my kids and get back to like a healthy baseline. We need a reset. So that's that's what everything transitioned to. High momentum, went into the grind. Things were super hard, burnout mode. And I was just like, I need to pause, which was super helpful, but kind of swung the pendulum to the other side for me, where my focus was on different areas of my life. And so in the summer, I had a lot of fun. I'm a bucket list person, Hayden. I like to create bucket lists. So along with just like my regular goals of who am I becoming, I am a storyteller. How do I want to explain what my life is like? What
Hmm.
things do I want to experience? And so I created a bucket list with my kids. I have to look this
Do
up
you
because
have
I'm,
one? Yeah, do you have an example on the bucket list you want to share?
yes, I do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. I'm going to pull it up really quick because I want to see if I can just like read you a list. But there's certain things that I've always wanted to do. And one of those was to do a triathlon. And so
Check.
I did a sprint triathlon with my sisters. Hayden, everyone wanted to wear matching triathlon suits. Just go and Google triathlon suits. They're
Okay.
ugly. They're so ugly. We found these ones on Amazon that were like teal. I got it in the mail. I put it on. I was like, I am not wearing this. I'm literally not wearing this. Hilarious. So there was a lot of training that went on that way. Um, I remember because I'm so passionate about like and in high performance circles and goals and things, I remember reading about this practice that changed my life. And I'm curious if you've heard about it, but it's something called misogi. Have we talked about this?
No.
I may be pronouncing it wrong. It's called misogi. So this is a Japanese concept, and traditionally it's a Shinto practice, so it's a type of religion, and it focuses on purification or like the cleansing of body, mind, and spirit. But in the last, I don't know, decade or so, this has been coming up in high performance circles because it's taken on like a metaphorical type thing. And basically, what it is that Misogi becomes this once a year practice, a challenge where you choose something so outside of your comfort zone that there's at least a 50% chance that you're going to fail. Like you
Are
don't
you
choose
kidding me?
something.
Have we not talked about this before? I don't think
No.
I've talked about this with you. I didn't know what the name was, but I have heard about this and have talked about this with my friends.
Oh
I didn't
my
know that was the
goodness.
name, though. That's weird.
Yes. Yes. So at least a 50% chance that you're going to fail, but something that you know you're going to do that you will never be the same. After you do this thing, like it changes your life
Can
because
I give an example? I follow some folks who talked about this. I think
yeah.
it was on a podcast, but um, Kyle Korver does this. He's an ex NBA player. Brooke, he used to play for the Utah Jazz. He's like one of the best 3-point shooters in like the history of the NBA. So he did this with someone who is a very devout Misagi trainer person. So those two, their example of a Misagi was they went to LA, they swam out into the ocean where it was 20 feet deep, and they carried a 50-pound dumbbell 2 miles underwater.
Oh my
So
gosh.
just like think about that. So you're literally in the ocean floor. There's sharks swimming around. You have to
Not the sharks
swim
again.
down. If you've I want to snorkel every year for the rest of my life. That's one of my bucket list items. Just to swim down 20 feet, I'm gassed. But then to swim down there, pick up a 50-pound dumbbell and start walking, and you need 2 miles of distance that you carry. Like, that's an example of one of these workouts.
Yes. It's really cool. A lot of people that choose this, it's usually some kind of physical thing. It's really interesting how the physical and the spiritual and the mental are all impacted in our life because usually when we do something very physically challenging, if you play sports or people that do an extremely hard hike, they leave changed because there's spiritual lessons, not only just the physical act of doing it. So that's what's powerful about this. But so the thing that I decided to do this year for that was I had a goal to do a 7-day fast. Water
Mm.
fast, meaning water only. And I did so much research about this. We could do a whole nother episode. You have to be careful with this. Anybody listening, don't just do this. You have to do some research on how to actually support your body to do this. But I ended up, I didn't hit the 7 days. I did 6 days, and it was life changing. Like, I never thought that I would be able to do something like that. I literally didn't think I could. But so anyways, that was one of the bucket list things. And then there was fun destination. I love paddleboarding. So we had different lakes and rivers and ponds and things with my kids, and I build it with them. So it's so fun. So that was kind of the summer. Like, let's create some experiences, some memories, some things that we want to do together. And I did that in life, and I also did that in business. I published my book in, when was it? June of that year too. So there was some good things in the summer from taking like a reset and just unplugging from some things.
Wow. I think one takeaway I have just listening to your first half of the year so far is, so far 2025, a theme for me of the pod has been be the captain of your own ship. And I imagine if you're listening to this, it can be like, okay, Brooke and Hayden got it. Sure, it sounds good. But like your example, Brooke, was you actually doing that. You actually like in the trenches being the captain of your ship and recognizing, uh-oh, something doesn't feel right now. Let's pause. Let's identify what that is. Like, what's the root cause? Okay, we need to take a break. I need to reevaluate priorities, get back to being the captain of my ship, and make sure that the things that are most important in my life are getting the necessary airtime and focus. And so I think that's a really practical example, which I love. My summer was a little different than Brooks. So Aubrey May was born April Fool's morning. She was 6 days late. Uh, so she was just so comfortable. Um, and yeah, what an experience. I know
You
earlier in
became
one
a
of the
dad.
episodes, I'm
Oh,
I'm a dad now. I'm an adult officially. Uh, but it's really interesting, Brooke, because Allie and I were reflecting the other day, and with her being born in April, it was kind of the perfect way to chunk our year into thirds. So Jan to April 1 was prepping for OBS. April to August was like parental leave and figuring out how to change a diaper. Okay, there's cream you need to put on. How much? Where do you put it? Like all this stuff that it's just until you do it, you just don't know. And then August to now has been uh re-entering the workforce and figuring out what normal is now, figuring out how to be married with a daughter that takes, we love her so much, but goodness gracious, she's a lot of work. And just navigating your own I will always have conflicting priorities for the rest of my life now because I'm a parent. Now, when you're in a relationship, you could say that, but being a parent, every single day for the rest of my life, I am going to have conflicting priorities. And if you've never experienced that before, it's hard. So, like, every morning, every workday morning is just a tug in 4 or 5 different directions where I'm getting pinged out the wazoo from work. I am trying my best to figure out with Allie like how we can support each other to get to where we need to get to. But then Obs needs to go to daycare. She needs her bottles packed. Like the dogs need to be fed. I need to get dressed and drive to the office. Like it is so easy to feel like you are failing in every single aspect of your life. And that privilege started on April Fools, which of all things is just so ironic. If you know me and Allie, like it wouldn't have happened any other way. Like she would have been born on April Fools. So she's got a life's worth of payback coming. But honestly, Brooke, it was summer, really spring, I guess, kind of the April, May timeframe. So essentially, all of April and May, I was off work, just on parental leave, no emails, no access. It was really special. It was the most time, really. I mean, once you start in the workforce, parental leave is the longest period, unless you move to Europe and you get a sabbatical or like summers off. Like in the US, we really don't have many things where you get extended periods of time off of work like parental leave. So, look, it's not like a vacation, okay? I mean, I'm changing 8 diapers a day, but I'm not working. I got to focus on learning how to be a dad, taking care of Allie, like showing off obs to people within reason, because she doesn't have any like immunity yet. So
Yeah.
that was just such a special time. And also selfishly, it was nice because like we had March Madness, we had the Masters, like we got to watch a whole bunch of really awesome sporting events together with no work and just focus on taking care of obs.
Yeah, it's been so incredible to see both of you guys become parents and the balance that that is, and just the personal growth that happens, and see the love that you have for her. It's amazing. And it's a lot. It's so much in the beginning. It's like you're in you're in the grind of becoming a parent, and you wear that badge proudly, and it's hard, but it's so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I think uh Q4, the reflection, as we closed out the year, kind of looking back. Okay, for me, I should say Hayden, because I think that how I portrayed the summer was like, it was so fun and all these like amazing things, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I was drained. I needed a recharge. And I honestly, I had pushed myself to the limit, and I thought, what do I do? Like, I really had to sit with that. It was a really hard time for me.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to paint this picture of like I'm paddleboarding every day and doing these like incredible things and I'm like happy and joyful. I did have those moments, but I really had this internal battle of how do I make this sustainable for my life? And how do I steward my life with all of these extra things? I know how to steward my life. But how do I do that now with all of these additional business demands on top of it? So I think the end of the year has been so beautiful. It's been the implementation and practice of that, of me trying to figure out a system and tools to learn that. And hasn't been implemented perfectly. It hasn't been executed perfectly, but I've learned from that part of the year. And so when I look at this, I don't know, roller coaster of experiences, I think we're on the right trajectory moving forward. So I had a new group of interns come in for the semester, the end of year semester. They're incredible. So much growth happened in the business. So many things were built out. We launched the pod again. I hired 4 people on my team now.
Heyo.
Yes, for Steward of My Life, that is going to help with the capacity issue and growth. Um, I've had to take a hard look at what are my personal boundaries? What will I not do? One of the things is we've talked about strengths. One of my greatest strengths is I'm high achiever. The saboteur on that scale is hyperachiever. So relentlessly pursuing a goal until it's completed, but at what cost? And so I've had to put in things in my life where this is a hard boundary. I can't do that anymore because I know I will get to burnout, and that's not sustainable. That's not good. So there's been a lot of growth in this last part of the year, and I'm setting up systems to support it in a better way.
Yeah. I think where I can really relate with what you just said is just a big theme for me in 2025 has been peaks and valleys. Just there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows in work, life, and relationships. And to your point earlier in this episode, the human experience is training yourself and giving yourself tools to be able to understand that that dynamic exists and to be able to understand that you need to build your skill set in navigating both times, the high highs and the low lows. And a quick example for me is I had just a simple, like a 3-day in-person training at work, and just the mindset of where I was in that moment was not a great place. I read this book by Felix Dennis. He created the Maxim magazine. It's an incredible read. It's How to Get Rich. It sounds super deep. It's like, wow, what does Hayden read, But
No, this
it's
is great. I love, by the way, that you're saying you're reading these books. This is
Brooke's
making
making
me
me read,
pumped.
guys. She's like, I'm not a big reader. I learn from shows and like seeing someone's face and like putting myself in their shoes. So I really like watching like history shows. Like Vikings is one of the greatest shows of all time. Marco Polo, like these type of historical figures, when they reenact that in a show, and I can learn about history and learn about people. That's my favorite. But Brooke and Allie and my sister, and they're all giving me a hard time and making me read. So I'm reading more books. But anyway, so Felix Dennis, there's a quote. He closes his book. He's a poetry fan. Very, very well written. And at the end, he says some adult language, but he essentially says like, never give fear an inch, like kill fear, or fear will kill you. And I just think kind of negative talk and like insecurity with yourself is how I used Felix's quote, because if if you think you can and you think you can't, you're both right. And in this training, I sat around Brooke, and it was like 15 of my peers, folks I've known for years. And in this training, I was like, I feel like I'm the black sheep in this room. Like the way people are answering questions, how engaged they are, what they're thinking about. I have very different thoughts. And I just felt like I was out of place. And that kind of started this self doubt a little bit, where I was started getting nervous again presenting, and I'm like having to do the box breathing. And then shortly after that, I go to campus where I'm the face, like I have to be the confident guy. And so I just think it's hard. Like this for me is why I think being kind is so important, because you have no idea, y'all, what's going on internally where someone is and like what they're struggling with, what they're telling themselves. And again, like we've talked about this before, but Brooke and I are not doing this podcast because we're fearless. Far from. We are doing this because we are committing to holding each other accountable to the power of two, the transition, the journey of understanding the peaks and valleys. And so I just really appreciate like this reflection, but also love how you're starting to see the fruits bearing from what you like, the pause that you took. And so I think like so far, like 2025 has been good for you, girl.
And it's so funny because, at the end of the year, I could think, man, I look back and I'm like, oh, the things originally maybe that I looked at or the way that I thought this would end was not necessarily what I had in mind. And it's easy. We're designed as humans to look for the negative because that's what helps us survive. So I could look back and say, man, oh, there's so many things like, and personal failures that were really hard on me that I'm still dealing with. So I think it's a really helpful exercise to look through. Hayden, I wrote down a couple of like one-liner lessons that
Yes.
I learned and want to take forward, but for the next year. But I'm curious, like, if there's anything else you want to comment on about your year end reflection.
Yeah, I would just say from a work perspective, it's been a big year. My role, I mean, I was out 2 months on parental leave, but my role changed a lot throughout the year, and I'm used to that, right? That's the nature of the beast in corporate America, but this year in particular, there was a lot of change. Brooke, you and I have talked a lot about this offline, but Honeywell's going through a really magical transformation. And from an HR perspective, I'm in the middle of Super Bowl type HR projects. So we're a 100-year-old company and we're transitioning to a new HCM system, which stands for Human Capital Management System. So there's like Workday, Oracle, PeopleSoft, whatever. And so we're transitioning to Oracle in 2025. We started that. And it's one of the biggest changes a company can go through because literally every single employee in the company uses that system. So imagining using Excel and then someone else creates a new Excel where everything is different, it's formatted different, but you still have deadlines, you still have stuff to get done. So that's one. And then the second piece is we've announced publicly just that we're going to be spinning into three industry leading publicly traded companies. So essentially, we're taking a $40 billion company and creating three publicly traded companies from that. And so I've been heavily involved in some of that work from, my client group's perspective. And this is just some of the most challenging dynamic projects I've ever worked
Wow.
on. That's literally putting my 8 years with Honeywell so far to the test. And I'm growing and getting better and having to influence. And it's been it's been a really good year for work. Um, from the life side, I think becoming a father, learning how to be uh, a dual income household with a kid, with dogs, like navigating all of that, has been challenging. To be completely honest, there's a lot of stuff that's been put on the back burner, like the gym, like eating healthy all the time, like that kind of stuff it's been Aubrey. That's been kind of the main focus. And then on the relationship side, I think a big focus for me in 2026 is me and Allie and our marriage and just making sure that we continue to find quality time. Before Aubrey, date night was sacred. It was a weekly activity, one of my favorite parts of the week. And with Aubrey now, you either bring her, which is nope, not really quality time, or babysitter, which is just another thing to add to the list. And so it's hard, but it's not impossible. And all of our friends, like with kids with them, just practicing the let them theory, but also trying our best to find quality time with the folks that we love. And then, uh, and we've got a pod to run, like interwoven in all of that stuff, right? So I know we heavily talk about the pod sometimes on the pod, which makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in this, beautiful life that's challenging, but peaks and valleys, and give yourself some grace and do your best.
Oh, I love it so much. I think it's so important to remember those. I love how you touched on the work, life, and relationships because those really are key areas. And depending on the season and the time and the struggles, there's shifts and adjustments that need to be made. Having the awareness of it is the first step to creating a better plan and to improving. So that's why the reflection is so beautiful. And I think that you just outlined that incredibly well. I loved it.
All right,
So
let's hear your
Hayden,
one-liners. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
excited.
think this is really fun. I would recommend doing this because then this is the purpose of creating some one-liners for you personally, your lessons learned, because it forces you to take those hard things that have happened and distill them into a single phrase that you can remember and actually carry with you. You don't have to create a million, but like 1 to 3, and you repeat that as you go through with the things that you've learned the most. I think it can be powerful. So I haven't distilled all of mine down yet, but let me share a couple of them. And I'm not going to explain them. They can be deep. I'm going to hold myself back from each of those, but I'm just going to give you some one-liners, all right?
Love it.
Things that I've learned this year. Clarity is a gift I give myself when I act, not something that life hands to me. I don't need
Okay.
more. Okay, that's the first one. And I'm just going to go through a bunch of them. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
The next one is you don't need more hours. You need better alignment.
Good one.
Structure doesn't box me in. The right structure sets me free. Support is not a weakness. It's a strategy. Progress feels less like fireworks and more like small, simple steps that I repeat. The body keeps the score. This has been a big one. Oh my goodness.
We could
The
have our
body
own
keeps
mini
the
series
score.
about that one.
I know. Body keeps the score. Okay. Your limits aren't signs you're failing. It's an invitation to design a new and better way. Let's see. Oh, this one's good. Okay. You can handle more than you think, but you're not meant to handle it all at once. This is about pace for me.
I think one similar quote to that one is human nature is we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and we underestimate what we can do in 10. Just we generally struggle as humans to think long term. It's hard to see how to get there. That's why big leaders make so much money, is because they can see the strategy of where we're going to get there, and then they can push the organization on how to actually execute to get there. It's so easy to think, I'm here, I want to get there. What's one step I can take? But to think 10 years down the road, like just take a minute right now and imagine yourself 10 years from now. Really hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So I think I'll share my last three. Two of them are ones that if you ask my kids a single phrase, they would bring up these two things because we've talked about it so much in my family. The first one is, and I'll ask my kids this, I'll say the first part of it and they'll repeat the end. Say, the little things every day make the hard go away. Makes the hard go away. The little things every day makes the hard go away. And that's true in all things. It's true with laundry. It's true with uh, physical goals, spiritual goals. It's true with business. The little things that seem insignificant every day makes the hard go away. The other thing that has been a lesson learned and has helped in so many things is the phrase, shoot love out of your eyes. My
That's
kids
great.
laugh their head off when they hear me say this, but when there's fights or there are arguments or things that there's disagreements on, I tell my kids, I say, I want you to look at them and I want to have you shoot love out of your eyes. And they'll start laughing their head off. But their whole demeanor changes and the way that they think about it as they're imagining love, just like shooting out of their eyes. And I've started to implement this with challenges or problems when I'm so frustrated. Even if it's like a software isn't working or I can't get something right, shoot love out of my eyes. It instantly changes my heart and brings gratitude to the situation. So,
It's corny. If you're listening to this, what Brooke just shared is super corny, but I need to pay her a compliment. Brooke and I often, so we try our best to have like a weekly call that's like a working session. And so often, either I'm on the way home from picking Obs up, or Brooke is riding her bike in some parking lot with her kids. Brooke, I'm so proud of the mom that you are, and I get to see it. Like, I don't get to see the Instagram stuff. I get to see like you're trying to have a business meeting with me. We're both super busy, and like, y'all, the patience that Brooke shows to her kids, like, it's incredible. Like, they're both tugging on her and trying to get her attention. Like, if we're doing a FaceTime, like, I always stick my tongue at them, and so they might want to like come back and like, you know, but that's an interruption from working time, which is less productive, and just every single time. Like, I haven't seen her like not approach it with so much grace and patience. And honestly, Brooke, like, I haven't told you this, but it's been a huge example for me. Just like the
uh,
unrelentless commitment to patience and consistency. And the hard thing with parenting is it's ugly sometimes, like it is just ugly sometimes. And like last night, for example, Allie woke me up at 1 a.m. and she had just fed Obs, and like, I don't want to go. I'm tired. Like, Dad's tired. But like, we're a team. And so I go up there and get her, and then of course she like thinks it's playtime. Um, but it's been such a great example, Brooke, for me of like, that's what it looks like. Like, that's what success looks like of no, these kids need me. They need my best. They need patience. They need love, even if what they're doing is frustrating. And so thank you.
oh my goodness, you're going to make me cry. Thank you so much for saying that. Um, Hayden, I think the biggest lesson learned for me this year is, and I have to keep learning it every year in some form or another. I'm like, can I just learn it finally and not have to relearn this lesson every single freaking year? But it's surrender and let God.
Yeah.
I think so many times the big goals and dreams that I have for my life in work, in life, in relationships, and the things that I'm trying to create and build, it can get heavy. It can get so hard and feel impossible. And I just want to step in. I'm like, I can just power through this and I can do it and I can be strong enough. And going back to the body keeps the score. Every time that I surrender and I just trust God, He knows me. He's going to take care of me. He can make miracles happen. All things are possible through Him. And the peace and the rest that that brings for me personally has changed my life. And I'll forget and I'll try to do it my way and power through. But that surrender and trust and partnering with Him, giving my best, knowing my limits, and continuing to move forward, it's the greatest gift. So hopefully I don't have to learn that too bad next year, but
Love
it's a
it.
gift.
Um, I've got 3 one-liners myself. that I'll just go over quickly, and
Yes.
then I have another celebration topic real quick, and then we can close out. So for me, I think even just when I think about the pod, like the biggest lessons, if you think about, Brooke, the scope of topics that we've talked about in our pod episodes in 2025 is so diverse. Different guest speakers that are way different. Like, if we put all of them in the room, like, I'd honestly be a little scared. Like, what would happen from these people? Just amazing folks, but just we're telling a story here. And it's not about telling the same thing, it's about telling multiple different stories. So we'll continue to do that. But kind of my biggest lessons learned from the pod. Number one is be the bison, right? So Sarah Jones told us the story that, again, we're both from Utah, around Utah, farm, animals, that's all like in our backyard. So buffalo, bison, when a big storm's coming, the herd moves towards it so that they're moving in an opposite direction from the storm, so they spend less time under the storm. Where cows run away from it. And so technically they're under the storm longer than bison. So be the bison when it comes to fear. Just run right through it. The second one is from the beloved Almost Every Time, Brooke, I ask some of my crew that listen to every episode of the pod what their favorite episode is. A common answer is the Sharon Giles episodes.
Wow.
But just with her, she taught me that when it comes to failure, it's your reputation that's at stake, not your identity. So if you fail, if you make a mistake, it's what people think of you, which you can then influence. It's not that becomes your identity. That's a huge lesson for me. And I think the last one, Brooke, is when we think about fearless, it's not about having no fear. It's about facing it. It's about being the bison. I think the movement that we have started and continue to uh, put water on and take care of and let it grow and sprout is that we, by being here and listening to this, our vision is we want each of you to show up as you. Give yourself grace, be yourself, but there's this need in life, in this human experience, to relentlessly chase the life that you know you were meant to live. And just, I love in our intro, like when you live fearless, you inspire others to do the same. And I can't wait to keep doing that in 2026.
Oh my gosh. It's so good, Hayden. As you were saying those three things, I just imagined the story that we hear about a coal turning into a diamond, right?
Mm.
If you feel like this year has been so hard, you've just been thrown in the middle of the fire. No, this is exactly a part of the process to become that diamond. There's no other way to do it. You got to go through it. And so having these experiences as you look back and reflect on your life, facing the fire, facing the fear, you may be afraid to go through it, but taking one small step in that direction, that is what it means to live fearlessly, because you're choosing to do something that's hard. We believe in you. We love you. This next year is going to be transformational. We can't wait to see what comes next for you, your life, your work, your relationships. And we'll catch you next year.
Thank you all for making 2025 special. We're looking forward to a great 2026. Happy New Year, Fraud to Fearless family. You belong here. All right, y'all. That's the pod.